You had it for a second. There you are.
Okay.
Hey, man. Right
Yeah.
on. How are you doing then? And by the way, I think that you and I, have you ever been down to CFOX and hanging out for the Punkorama when Marianne
Yeah.
Carosi? Because I
Yeah.
used to do the show right after her for years.
hmm
And I did the afternoon show on CFOX for 12. So I think that when I was doing the evening show, because I would stay there and I would opt the board for Marianne.
hmm
And I did that for years. And I think that you were by a couple times. Like Billy Hopeless, of course, was down there co-hosting and whatnot. And so it's good to get you on the first time for the Toddcast podcast. I'm a longtime fan of the band, dude. I've seen you many times.
I'm right on.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, of course you have. Yeah. And before we were getting the video ready here, you were mentioning tough times for bands right now, man. Like what are you thinking? Like, what's your game plan for the next even a year without knowing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's difficult.
It's hard to even go a couple years and normally a band like you guys would be prepared a couple years in advance, would you not?
Yeah, but we don't know. I mean, the last tour we were supposed to tour Canada, US, and Europe and come back with a nice chunk of change. I ended up coming back with $300 and we got shut down in Edmonton.
So that's
we
what
didn't even.
You were told the bad news in Edmonton. You guys are done.
Yeah, I didn't even believe it
Wow.
at first, but it turned out that the whole pandemic thing was a lot more serious than I had imagined. You know, I thought we were just going to keep going.
Yeah, honestly, same. I mean, I throw shows locally at the railway, and I thought that it might be a few months or whatever, and they kind of thought the same thing. And and honestly, like I don't know when I'm going to be able to throw any podcast shows in the next, like 100+ gatherings. When's that happening?
Yeah.
No idea. What, like, when's 1,000 person? When's like when will we see like a 10,000, Rogers Arena show?
Who knows?
So what are you doing to combat?
I'm optimistic, but quite seriously, I've sort of lost my identity.
Sure.
not having had done those tours and all that, and the last 3 or 4 tours have been pretty much hell for me. I had the band The Core?
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Okay, well, they used to be my band.
Oh, okay. Well, that's probably why I've heard of them.
Yeah, and so we were in the middle of a tour, and they all just decided one day to quit and go home. And even worse than that, the bass player came back here and canceled all our festival shows. Because what I did, I went back to Berlin and had another band in 72 hours.
Wow. So this was like out of the blue, they dropped that news on you?
Yeah. And so then I come back here after finishing that tour, and I'm going to do an American leg. And I have my suspicions about this, but I can't prove anything. But anyway, I rented $10,000 worth of gear, 2 412s and 2 Marshall heads and an SVT for the tour. And I'm getting all ready to go down to Seattle on the day. And I get a call from the cops. And someone had stolen the van and the trailer, clipped the lock, and took all the gear.
That is the worst, and it happens all the time.
Yeah, $10,000 worth of gear. But where does it go? What do they ship it off to Japan or somewhere? Because
it's probably going to local pawn shops, maybe. But even then,
if it went to local pawn shops, I had all that covered.
They'll find them. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they still had the tags on them. They were brand new. So
Wow.
what I did was, instead of being dead in the water, I went down and got another trailer and went to Long and McQuaid and had to buy the gear so that they could rent me some more. So that was interesting.
And did Long and McQuaid give you a screaming deal, or?
No,
Oh, that's too bad. That's
yeah,
too bad.
but they're going to make money too.
Yeah.
And then, this
But that's a
last,
story. But that's a story, Paul, that everybody could have rallied behind. They could have made it something bigger than the dollars. Do you know what I mean? Like the publicity alone for a band like the fucking Real McKenzies and Paul McKenzie. Give me a break, man. Locally, people would rally around that.
well, I wasn't here. I was in America.
Oh, well, still the story remains, I suppose. But dude, that's shit luck, man.
Well, I don't even know if it's luck, because for some reason, when we were in Europe, the tires on that van got slashed twice.
Wow.
So it's obviously some disgruntled individual. And but like I say, I can't prove anything.
Well, no, how can you unless you catch them in the act?
Yeah. And so then I went to Nat in Alberta and did our latest album, which is yet to be released.
In Netton.
Yeah.
Okay, my grandparents used to live there back in the day.
Really?
Yeah,
I like it there.
80s.
Crabapple Down Studios with Steve Laurie.
Okay.
But anyway, and then so I was all, getting over all that other harsh stuff. And then this happens.
And so what are you guys doing to combat that? Is there like a game plan? Are you going to be doing, I don't know, like what is the next step for bands that want to still play? And like, is it a matter of like doing those streaming shows? And, you can't do too many of those because, if you do too many shows, nobody will come, you know what I mean? Like you can't do too many, right? So
yeah.
What's the combat of that?
I really don't know.
What's your team saying? What's your label saying? You're releasing the record, which is an awesome name, by the way.
Yeah.
I love it. Beer and Loathing.
Yeah, it'll be released on Fat in America and Stomp in Canada.
That's right, on July 3rd. So clearly there's a game plan in that regard. Like they want to get the music out and stuff, but what's the next step of, being in a band? Like, what do you do now?
Yeah, I really wish I knew.
Yeah.
There has to be some sort of alternative.
Be something.
Mm-hmm.
Like I heard that did you hear this? Long and McQuaid had or not Long McQuaid, Live Nation had tossed around, doing like drive-in theater shows kind of thing. Did you hear about that? Where you'd be in a car and the band would be playing on stage and, whatever you can tune into the FM radio and pick up the board feed or however they would magically do that.
Yeah.
What do you think of that idea? Like, would you go to one of those shows?
It's a great idea. What a way to practice social distancing. But I don't know about the reality of it at this point in time, unfortunately, because there are no more drive-ins. I guess we can make some.
We'd have to, yeah, exactly. They'd have to make something, but I don't know. I don't know. It's it's a tricky time to be in, man. And as much as we can help you here at the Toddcast, we're gonna pump this interview pretty hard and the release of the record and
Cool.
Nothing but the best, man. I want to go back, Paul, to the beginning. I want to go back before you were in any bands, like any bands. The music in your house as a kid. What are your parents playing?
Well, my sister was born in 1944, and she was sort of beatnik type. So we were listening to a lot of Miles Davis, a lot of John Coltrane. Excuse me, a lot of John Coltrane. A lot of those jazz musicians. She was really big on that stuff.
Hmm.
But she also got into Captain Beefheart,
Okay, yeah.
and she liked the Beatles and the Stones and all that too. So this is what I listened to as a kid.
Would you equate her as the person to really, kind of get you down that path that you've traveled?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, most certainly.
that's pretty
My
awesome.
first
What does
my
she do
first
now?
exposure to music. But then on the other hand, my mother was a classical musician. So
Oh,
we always had, the classics. Let's see, I'm a big Beethoven fan. I love Mozart.
okay.
Um,
Interesting. I
Bach.
I have never ever had anybody talk about classic composers like that.
Hmm,
And dude, I've asked, and I agree. I love that stuff. I think it's incredible what they were doing for the
yeah,
time, right? But
freaky,
yeah,
freaky good.
it's I mean it's amazing, right? Didn't wasn't Beethoven partially deaf or something like that,
Yeah,
or he had made like an obscene amount of music by the time he was like 5 or 6 at most, or something like that.
yeah,
Like just
mind blowing. Really.
savants, I get, like that's the word, right? They're
Yeah,
savants. It's just like it's in them, and holy shit, sit them in front of a piano and fucking watch them fly.
yeah. Which near the end of his career, he was losing his hearing,
Wow,
and
that's
it was
incredible. And so he would be able to play that, I guess, just by like the hum and the vibration of his body and the
yeah.
keys or something, right?
hmm Um, I think he had a virus as a kid, and it slowly diminished his hearing as time went by.
Right. Probably something that's curable today, but not then.
Yeah.
Probably something like that.
hmm
Are you a big Canucks fan? Are you dying for hockey or what?
I'm not really a sports fan.
Not a big sports. It's just all music.
Let's see what sports do I like?
Do you
Oh,
like
I
do you
like
like watching
trialing.
MMA fights, UFC, and all that?
No,
No.
I like trialing.
You like which? Sorry.
Trialing.
Trialing.
Yeah.
What's that?
Well, it's really big on Salt Spring Island. As a matter of fact, a lot of people come from all over the world to compete there. And what it is you have your little border collie, and you whistle it, and it chases the sheep around
Oh,
and puts them in a pen and makes them go around fences and that. But it's a really intense communication between the owner and the dog, and it's really, really quite interesting
and
for
that's
me to
called
watch.
trialing.
Yeah,
I think I've seen it on TV, and
yeah,
like they're just it's almost like they're one person. They're just dialed together.
yeah. And the females do better because they don't scare the sheep as much.
Hmm. Interesting.
hmm
So do you like the dog races at the PNE then?
The dachshund races.
Yeah, or whatever. Like they have these random dogs racing, and it's just I can't remember what the hell it's called, but it's like I go every year because my kids love it. Right? They just if we don't go, it's not the full P&E experience if you don't go see these
Uh-huh.
dogs ripping
Well, I
around. Right?
probably enjoy that.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. Yeah. So with the record coming out, I think we've already established that it's an odd time to release a record.
hmm
Are they getting easier for you guys to write?
That all depends on who's in the band. I like everybody to contribute something. You know, um, I've heard bands that have a singular writer, and the music gets really redundant. So I like a little variety.
And I've heard it's always really good, and like for your writing to grow also is to like work with other people and work with people that you admire and respect and all that, but like work with people and it gets you in different directions that you wouldn't even think of.
Yeah, it gives the band a sense of team work and stuff instead of just being hired guns, So I've always liked that.
Yeah.
I've always liked to sit around a table and throw ideas and expand on ideas, and it seems to work.
Well, it's like the old adage of like, there's not a bad question, there's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
It might not work, but at least get that creative flow, right? Like that think tank.
And we keep all the best stuff and let the other stuff on the back burner.
Yeah.
So to speak. But quite often we've revamped old ideas and put them on later records.
Oh, is that right? Okay, give us an example of when you did that. Give us like an example of a song where.
Let's see. Well, Nessie is one of them.
Oh, really? Okay.
We recorded that one. And what would be another one? There's been a lot of water under the bridge, so to speak.
Yeah.
I
think that that's like a badge of honor for bands, like I've talked to so many, 500, 6,000, I don't know how many bands, like a lot of bands through, this 6 years of podcasting, probably 500 there. And then, I did the rock report at CFOX, which was like every day. And all of the interviews were on that show. And, I feel that most bands kind of, certainly would be empathetic with you. They all this like it's a relationship. It's not just like let's go fuck around and make some songs and have fun, boys. It's like, you got to deal with this guy that doesn't quite, play nice with the people at the venue or has bad body odor or you know what I mean? Like it's not just a band. It's like,
and then there's the dilemma of hiring a good player who is not necessarily a good person. You know what I mean? I mean, I've been over barrels. Like, oh my God, we're going on tour and we don't have a guitar player. And so I settle for a player, and sometimes it doesn't work out personally.
Right. And then that's just a matter of like, bite your tongue or whatever. Just
but
get through it.
Always, except for lately, we always waited until the tour was over or the record was over or something before people just quit.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that before. We've always had, sort of a code of honor to finish what you started, which is why the core is so shocking to me. But apparently, I can't really confirm this. They were going to do a record with Fat Mike. And because of what they did, Mike didn't want anything to do with them. Because, what were they going to do? Go down and do half an album? Or something? I don't know. But it's...
where does Mike find the time to do all the shit that he does? It's fucking insane.
Yeah. Well, he's independently wealthy. That's how. He doesn't have to work.
Right. Yeah, because he
doesn't have to work a straight job. And NoFX probably makes a chunk of change and stuff.
Yeah, I would think so.
Well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, what was your first concert that you went to?
First concert. Oh, the Tubes, White Punk Condo.
Where was that?
That was at the Gardens.
Wow. First show at the Gardens.
Yeah, we had to sneak in because we were too young.
Nice.
But what a show.
That's great. I bet. What did that do to you? Like, do you think that helped also? We were mentioning that your sister was probably the first person to kind of like, steer you down that way. Seeing a show.
Well,
like
in
that,
terms of creating a spectacle on stage, it helped a lot.
Yeah.
Because that whole, like, it was like a rock and roll Las Vegas show. They really put a lot of effort into costumes and presentation and little skits, things like that.
And how old were you then?
Let's see, I would have been 13.
Yeah, man. So your mind's blown. Boom.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah. Rad.
And then I remember when I was 12, I snuck into the cave to see Count Basie.
Okay.
But I got caught.
No, did you?
Yeah, I was I was hiding under a table because I was a tiny kid.
Nice.
I didn't really grow up. I mean, when I was that age, I looked like I was about 8 or 9. So, but we zipped in and got to see, a few songs, which was pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. Yeah, because I mean, at that age you're so impressionable, and that's bound to make just a massive, impression in your head, right?
Oh yeah.
Like,
what a band.
I bet.
Yeah, just
wow.
Pretty incredible.
Yeah.
I've seen tons and tons and tons of bands. Being
oh, I bet.
especially in the independent music scene here in Vancouver.
Yeah.
And then touring from coast to coast, meeting a lot of bands.
What have been some of the best tours that you've been on with bands and stuff, like for camaraderie and just the shows and just overall?
Personality Crisis was one of them. I really liked those guys at the time. There's another one. Currently Raygun Cowboys.
Okay.
They're a bunch of good guys.
Mm-hmm.
The Dreadnoughts, we got along well with them. Junior Gone Wild, going back a few years.
Yeah.
The Doughboys out of Montreal.
Yeah, I remember those guys.
Yeah, they were nice fellows.
Like, do you find that just punk in general is, they're just nice people?
Yeah. And currently, a little while ago, we played with a stomp band called the Voids.
Okay.
They're nice fellas.
The Voids.
Yeah. Good band too, really good.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the name of that other band? They're a psychobilly band out of Stomp Records. They used to wear eye white things, but they stopped. Oh, what were they called again?
I'm not sure.
Huh. It'll come to me.
Yeah, it's definitely ringing a bell.
Not soon. Yeah.
What are you binging on right now, dude, for shows and stuff? Obviously, lots of time on our hands these last couple of months.
Too much. I was expecting to go to work after the tour as a saving show, but it didn't happen. All the companies that I used to work for folded up. So it's been pretty bleak, and I'm not really getting out much. So I'm reading a lot.
What are you reading?
Right now, it's a book called A Distant Mirror by Barbara Tuchman.
A Distant Mirror.
Yeah,
What's
it's about
that
the
about?
tumultuous 13th century.
Whoa. Interesting.
Yeah, it really is. And I
From what
mean,
perspective?
well, the way that she compiled a lot of historical information, and as she was doing so, this one guy's name kept on coming up all the time. So she kind of centered on him. And
And
but
where
it
is he
goes
on
into,
the hierarchy? Like, is he a peasant? Is he you know what I mean? He's like a,
yeah, he was a French nobleman.
okay.
But it goes into the schisms and all that. And you know, the people of Western Europe wanted to bring God closer to them, so they hired their own pope. And at one time there were 7 popes.
No way, really?
Yeah,
Is this fact based?
yeah, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It's all fact. It's
Wow.
history.
Okay.
But she wrote The Guns of August, and she won a Pulitzer Prize for that one,
Okay.
and a few other ones as well. I like reading history.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by that stuff as well. It's
Mhm.
hard. It's hard not to be, right?
Yeah, and especially Scottish history. It gives us lots of material to write. Like, there's a song that we have on the latest album called Overton Bridge,
Hmm.
and it's this ancient granite bridge. And for some reason, nobody knows why, something like 100 dogs have committed suicide by jumping off the bridge, and nobody knows why.
Weird.
Yeah, look it up, Overton Bridge.
I wonder what that is.
I don't know. Not having had been there, I haven't checked out the lay of the land. Maybe it's some strange scent or something that is irresistible to them or something. I'm not sure.
Wow.
Yeah. And we've also got some Canadiana, of course, lots of it, which is pretty cool, I think, because people from around the world enjoy listening to that stuff from the far off land of Canada.
Totally right.
Yeah.
Big time. Big time.
Instead of the run of the mill European stuff,
Yeah.
if you will. But yeah, we're
So more reading than television is what I'm picking up here.
I don't watch TV.
You don't watch TV at all?
No.
No movies.
No.
Interesting. So okay, so that's all very cerebral then.
Yeah, it's there's not really much of a format for me on the television.
And I'm sure the stuff that would interest or pique your interest would be like the news and stuff, and then that's starts to get very political. And
I'd sooner get my news from other sources than the television.
is that right? Where do you get your news from?
Well, I have this phone, so there's lots of different outlets to read about current events around the world.
And which sites are you going to?
Well, Yahoo is one of them, and Vice is another one. They've got some good documentaries.
Vice is great. Have you ever read? Give me a sec here. You ever read these books from Vice?
No, I'll
This
have to
is
check
like,
that out.
dude, we live in the same city. I'll have to lend this to you, and I'll get it in your hands, dude. You're gonna laugh your ass off. Some of the funniest writing
Oh,
in
cool.
in this book right here, man. It's hilarious.
I'll trade you one.
Sure, I'm down, man. I love Vice. One of my favorite for as long as I can remember. It felt like, that they were, I don't know, like not fucking with you. They didn't feel like they were lying. They were just,
Hmm. But
telling you
still,
the way it is.
learning,
Like, here's what's happening,
which is kind of cool.
which is very cool, man. You don't get that enough. You
Yeah.
don't get that enough for sure. I have an oddball question. I like to ask my guests, Paul, and you can tell me to take a hike or whatever.
Well, I'm good at oddball questions.
Good. Do you think that aliens have visited Earth?
Of course. Of course they have.
I think so too.
There's proof all over the place. Maybe you should write this name down. It's a book called Fingerprints of the Gods. And when this guy first wrote this book, everyone thought he was a crackpot, and now they're all turning to him for advice and stuff like that.
Fingerprint of the Gods.
Fingerprints of the Gods.
Okay.
A
Yeah,
good
man,
read. If you
I
like that
believe
kind
that
of stuff, you'll love it.
Yeah, dude. I'm not. I mean, I guess I am super interested as I ask pretty much all my guests, but wouldn't consider myself a fanatic. I just think that
Well,
how
part of
could
the
they not have?
information-
How could they not have visited? There's enough, video footage, and the government's outright said yes, so there has been UFOs and Area 51 and trying to hide shit, and just there's so many things that lead to like how could they not have been here? Like to the point where I think that they probably live among us, man, and we just never know.
There are lots of interesting coincidences. Take, for example, we didn't go supersonic until after 1947. And they just couldn't muster the technology to do that. But after 1947, boom, there they were.
Right.
But there's another really interesting, I won't bore you too much with it, but a lot of people think that the Earth spins evenly, but it doesn't. It warbles, sort of like a top slowing down.
Right. Ever so slightly.
Yeah. And way back in the day when they first built the pyramids, I mean, they said that the pyramids are tombs. They're not fucking tombs. They have all kinds of things. Like, why would they put mica and granite on the floor of a tomb? We're talking
They wanted
electricity.
to look real nice, I guess.
But anyway, there's a shaft in the Great Pyramid, and no one can figure out what that was. What is that? Where they, they rolled their papyrus down or whatever. But what this guy's figured out is at the time of the pyramids, that shaft looked right out to Suess. Yeah, just another little interesting thing.
And isn't it like along the same? There's like historical landmarks along the same exact line around the like. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's an interesting topic to get into for sure.
It certainly is. I mean, we couldn't do that now.
No, of course not.
So how the fuck did they do it?
Right. And like look how big those pyramids are. Massive.
Hmm.
They're massive
Yeah,
for people to do
I
that.
was really impressed.
Yeah.
Um, but
I've
there's
never
also
been, man. I'd love to go. What did you, how long were you there for?
oh, I just zipped over.
Mm.
I had a few days off, and so I just flew over because I wanted to see them.
Yeah, yeah, dude, of course. I mean, that's got to be one of the best things about your career, right? Is
Hmm.
going to those
Yeah,
places and
seeing a
seeing
lot of,
things like, most people don't see probably an eighth, a tenth, a 20th of what you've seen.
yeah, we got around.
Yeah.
We certainly did. And also, having had the management that we have, they're also interested in historical monuments and things like that. So it was sort of a prerequisite to go and visit. But there's another group of pyramids. The Mayan pyramids are also very, very interesting.
I've been to those.
Yeah, and they say that all those avenues used to be filled with water. So I can just, you can just picture what it looked like
Hmm.
back in the day with a bunch of water and lush vegetation and stuff like that.
No kidding, right? Like it just,
Heads bumping down the staircase.
yeah, like just looks like a place you'd want to live, right?
Yeah.
Nice, man.
But what was another? Oh, a very interesting thing happened to me in Tasmania. We played a show there, and I went off and partied with these crazy artists. I ended up being exactly 10 minutes late from showing up at the hotel, 10 minutes late for catching a cab, and 10 minutes late for catching the plane out of there. And I had nothing, no passport, no nothing.
Oh, man.
So I was going to get a job. I just want to call these guys up and see if I can get a job.
No shit.
And a policewoman came up to me and says, "Are you Paul McKenzie?" Here I am, kilted and everything, sporting and Glengarry and all that. And I says, "Yeah." And she says, "Your manager is on the phone, and we want you off our island."
You're like,
So
yeah, I want to go.
yeah, they put me on a plane with no passport, no money, nothing.
Wow.
It's kind of interesting. Yeah.
Must be fun to kind of think back to those those times. Could you think you could nail it down to like one career highlight, like the big one?
No.
It's too
No,
hard, right?
it would be really difficult. I'd have to review over the years. But wait a minute, playing really old castles that's really fun. Old vaulted ceilings and stuff, and that's pretty cool. Every time we're en route to another place and there's a castle, we always stop. And so, you know, in terms of being a history buff, that's always a high point for
Hell
me.
yeah. Yeah, I bet. How long do you think you will continue to make music and tour? And let's assume that things get back to normal within a year or two, or normal. Like, are you
I'm
thinking of
still pretty
retirement?
active.
Are you like, I'm just
Nah,
going to go until I'm 80, 90, like just keep going
until
until
they plant me.
right?
Yeah, I'm not going to stop.
No,
What would I do?
I find it funny, not funny, but for lack of better phrasing, I find it funny when bands do hang it up. Like, if you can
Yeah,
physically still do it, why wouldn't you just continue to do it? Like, don't you love it still? Like, Doesn't it
Yeah.
drive you still?
Well, you know, a lot of people are just in it for the money.
Yeah.
And once they've made their money, they get into other stuff.
But what's enough money though, do you think? Like if they were to say to you, Paul, we've got 5 million tomorrow, you know, we just want you to, you know, enjoy the rest of your life. 5 million?
That'd be great.
That would be fucking pretty awesome.
I could easily do it.
5 mil, yeah. I think if they were to say, you know, I'm almost 50, so I've got probably 30 more, 40 more years, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think if 2 million, pay off my place and give me 2 million.
Easy.
Easy. I don't, you know,
I'm living on
how much money do you make over the course of your lifetime, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, that all depends. I mean, I've had some pretty hot jobs.
Right.
In my back in my TT Racer days, I was printing, and that was back in the 90s. And I was pulling in $45 an hour.
No way, really?
That was okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm lucky if I can muster $20 an hour.
Damn.
But you know, my rent is cheap.
Oh, that's good. Wow.
Car.
How do you have cheap rent in Vancouver, dude?
Lucky.
Yeah. Your landlord must be super, super nice. Is that, you know, I feel pretty.
I live in an 11 by 11 room.
11 by 11 room, like just one room? It's a bachelor?
Well, yeah, I mean, I have access to a kitchen and bathroom and that.
Right. But your shit's in an 11 by 11.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's inexpensive.
Right. I mean,
you know, especially when I was planning on being away on tour.
That's what I was just going to say. And for your case, like, you know, what more do you need? At that point, it's like, I don't really need anything besides a room just to keep my stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, dude, I hope that the industry turns around for, you know, not only the Real McKenzies, man, but for everybody. Like venues are shutting down and bands are breaking up and fucking crazy.
Management is drying up.
Wow.
You know, they can't afford to continue. So yeah, it's all changing. Brave new world.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a interesting time.
Have you ever read Orwell and Huxley?
Pardon me?
Have you've read Orwell and Huxley?
No.
1984 and Brave New World?
Well, 1984 I've read, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Brave New World is Aldous Huxley.
Okay.
And those guys used to work for MI5 during World War II. And they wrote those books as a warning to us now.
Saw what was coming.
Yeah, there's another funny, interesting story I heard about them. They were at a literary party. And there was this guy that used to write really bad pornography. And as a joke, they suggested that he start writing children's books. You know who that was? Dr. Seuss.
I was just going to say, please tell me it's not Dr. Seuss.
Yeah, but if you really sort of read his stuff, you could imagine it being bad porn.
Yeah, wow. That might put a new spin on any Seuss I read from now on.
Oh, yeah, it will.
Yeah.
But anyway, the world is full of all kinds of little tidbits of information that, you know, I like to talk about stuff. But in terms of a brave new world, if you will, it's I think what people might do is kind of freak out once this whole pandemic thing pans out, and they might really be a lot more supportive. And
Yeah, I mean,
we'll have to see.
you've got the pandemic, got the protests, the riots.
Yeah,
Everything. It's just coming full steam.
yeah. It's it's kind of interesting too. Although we'll have to fathom through it. But yeah, it's a harsh thing.
Mm-hmm.
Those cops had better just take a fucking powder, all of them. Absolute power corrupts, and that's exactly what's happening.
Oh yeah, and I think that people are starting to, reluctantly realize that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I don't trust the police. I haven't trusted the police for decades. As a matter of fact, I was raised not to trust the police.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
I mean, like, tolerate them, but don't fucking trust them.
Yeah, no, I was raised to, that cops are good, but like I said, I'm almost 50 now, so I don't
I would
know
imagine that there are some really cool
Oh yeah,
cops.
I think that there's probably, like any profession, Paul. Like I think that there's good things in anywhere you look, but in a job like that where you're so trusted,
Mm-hmm.
word,
There's another reason. You get these cops that have been out in the field far too long. They should be rotated to a desk job after a few years. I think that would be a really good idea, instead of having them out on the front line for so long. It probably drives them crazy.
Well, I wonder what will come of the whole defund the police, not movement, but it's people are talking about it. I wonder what will come of that.
Yeah, I wonder too, because crooks will run rampant. Anything that's not nailed down, no cops. Let's go.
Yeah, dude. Those first few nights were pretty scary. It reminded me of the Rodney King,
Mm-hmm.
Back in the 90s or whatever that was.
Yeah, it was 92.
Right.
I know I was there.
You were?
Yeah. It was interesting to see the Korean guys on the roofs with their AK-47s ready to defend. Like, where did they get AK-47s? Are not those illegal? But yeah, there was a lot of stuff. I was also in Los Angeles too during 9/11. It was really eerie. And I had just poured a pad for a friend of mine with, the conduits and the drainage and everything vaulted and stuff. And in return, he gave me a 1963 Austin Healey Sprite.
For a trade.
And it's a brand new motor.
Wow.
So the rings weren't even broken in yet. And I was driving around. I got pulled over on Sunset Boulevard by a bunch of young girl cops saying, like, we have emission ordinance here, and your car is burning oil. I said, yeah, it's got a brand new motor though, and it takes a little while for the rings to break in. And this cop says, well, you should put it in the garage and have a proper exhaust system put on it until the break-in period, which is ridiculous.
Mhm.
But then they looked at my license and they said, "Oh, you're not from here." Says, "Nope." They get on the radio, gave me 2 weeks to vacate the country.
Wow.
And so I did.
Damn
It
car.
was a blast while it lasted. Yeah, I drove that little car up from California. Everyone
Wow.
said you won't make it, but I did.
But yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And so it started to break in around Reading.
Okay.
And so I started opening it up slowly to literally break it in, the way you're supposed to do that.
Yep.
And yeah, by the time I got to Portland, it was running like a top.
Cool.
Yeah, really nice little car.
Yeah. Well, Paul, I should probably wrap this up. Where is the best place for people to, interact with your band?
I don't know. I know that there are some people that are on the internet and they see a bunch of stuff. I guess Real McKenzie's webpage on YouTube.
Yep.
But I have some friends who have heard some songs from the new album, and I haven't heard any yet.
Oh, how does that hold up? How does that happen? How do people,
Well,
your friends here,
I
before the guy?
I recorded it. I
No
recorded it.
internet, right?
I think I'm a bit of a Luddite, is what it is. I mean, I guess I could check, but I just, for some reason, I have my working CD here, so I just listen to that one.
Right. Oh, which is close enough, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, it'll all work out.
I love it when bands are like, "Oh, dude, but keep in mind, it hasn't been mixed and mastered." It's like my ears aren't. I'm not Mike Fraser. Like I'm not a pro. I won't hear that difference, man. Don't worry about it. Just give me the disc, and I'll hear I won't be able to differentiate.
Well, there's something to be said for raw recordings. I remember I used to buy a bunch of bootleg albums, and they were raw. But
but you still love the songs, like it's not like, oh, well, geez, I wish these sounded better. It's like, no, like if the song is good, it doesn't matter how shitty it is. It could be like 8 generations of like you dubbed it off a cassette to a cassette to a cassette. Like who fucking cares? It still is a good song because it's a good song, not because of how good it sounds.
Yeah,
in your ear hole.
But a lot of the people nowadays like the bells and whistles. But there's one thing: the CD format. It's a square wave, right? A digital wave.
It's not as warm as what you get off.
It's not as warm as the albums, and this is why I always insist that Fat Mike and Fat Records release albums as well. For those of us who enjoy that, because it's a nice round warm wave. And on the square, this is what Deutsche Grammophon.
Got my album piles right here.
Cool. Deutsche Grammophon never stopped making records because the oboes and the flutes, those corners, those frequencies don't really exist in real life.
Right, so you're like hacking off parts of waves.
Too bright.
To make it conform to it's like that. It's not what it sounds like.
No, not at all. Not by any means.
Yeah.
But anyway, I still have. Actually, my ex-wife took all my records, so I'll have to start collecting again.
Yeah, sounds like you got a hobby to restart there, bud.
Yeah. Alrighty, well, thanks for talking.